will be Jadalee, who will be joining you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes, yes. Number 3, so just not yours. Thank you. Recording secretary, can you please take roll?
Ms. Donna, present. Ms. Lizarraga,
Present.
Ms. Gates,
Present.
Ms. Sarmiento, present. Ms. Bettencourt Castellanos.
Present. Thank you. Item 5 is presentations. Item 5A, presentations by Lincoln Acres School students. We have board member Gates, but also principal Daniela Ruiz Joe.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees. Thank you for having us. I am very excited and proud to introduce my amazing 5th grade team and our students who will be sharing about one of our projects at Lincoln Acres.
All right. Hi, everyone. We're from Lincoln Acres Elementary School. My name is Jessica Gastelum, and I teach 5th grade next door to Melissa Kwan. 4 of our students are here with us today to share their experiences in a program called Letters to a Pre-Scientist, or LPS for short. This is my 1st year hosting the program and Mrs. Kwan's 3rd year. Letters to a Pre-Scientist pairs students with a worldwide network of STEM professionals for a year-long Pen Pal program during science class. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. This program aims to broaden students' awareness of STEM, of what STEM professionals look like and what they do at work to help inspire all students to explore a future in STEM. Mrs. Kwan and I are so excited to share this opportunity with our students. Thanks to board approval, we're so happy to have our students be engaged, interested, and happy to learn about science, college, careers, and new parts of the world while improving their reading and writing in science class. We hope this experience inspires students to discover possibilities in STEM.
So the LPS program is organized so that each student will exchange letters with their pen pals 4 times during the school year, and we initiate the first letter. Each letter the pen pals write is focused on a different topic, so you can see the numbers there. We are in cycle 1. So our first letters we received a few weeks ago were about our pen pals' career pathways. And many letters included graphics like these so that the students can kind of have a visual of their STEM pen pals' careers. Our second letter will be about higher education. And in the classroom, we'll get to research where our pen pals went to college and learn about their college experiences. In their third letters to us, pen pals will describe an age-appropriate challenge that they had, as well as what steps they took to overcome that challenge. And finally, their last letter, which will be coming in May, will be advice to the students and some encouraging message for them to remember. And now we will hear from our students about what they have done so far in the program this year.
Hi, my name is Jaylee Zamora. The first activity we did was learning about the different science topics the scientists worked in. Then we found out which categories we liked and were interested in. For the activity, we had to match the definition of the job to the career and also match the picture. I then filled in an interest survey. One of the ones I put was rocks. My pen pal turned out to be a mining geologist. Hello, my name is Gigi Rocha Rodriguez. After our interest survey, we got matched with our pen pal. We also got to see their interests, hobbies, and jobs they work at, and many other cool facts about our pen pals. When I got my pen pal's information, I was excited to see that their hobbies and jobs. I was also happy that we had many things in common, such as animals, plants, and space.
Hi, my name is Dominic Chavez. We wrote letters on September 19, 2022. Paragraph 1 was about introducing ourselves. Paragraph 2 was about telling our pen pals what we were learning. Paragraph 3 was about asking questions. The 2 questions I asked was 1, what is it like being a scientist? 2, what is it like building things? We wrote a rough draft and a final draft.
Hello, I'm Michael Martinez. Letter opening day is when you get your letters back and read what your pen pal sent you. My pen pal is from Pennsylvania and was born in Mexico. I was really excited to get mine back and read all of the amazing things she sent me. It was fun because she shared the things that she did and where she grew up and what university she went to. It was also fun to read my friends' letters. Next, each of us are going to share the favorite parts of our letters.
The first thing I liked was that they gave some gems and fossil blood. I also liked how she included a lot of information about her job and the pictures of her mining gems. First of all, I liked that the pictures included in my letters. Some of the pictures were buildings in United Kingdom and his cat. I also appreciated that my pen pal wasn't shy to share a lot about himself.
One thing I liked was this picture of a black hole. Another thing I liked was that my pen pal studies what happens when 2 black holes collide.
First of all, the one thing I liked about my letter is that she showed me her dogs. The first one name is Bonita, and she is 6 months old. And the second one is 9 years old, and the dog's name is Natasha. The last one is 14 years old, and the dog's name is Pimenta. The second thing I liked about my letter is that she listens to music, and she likes listening to Taylor Swift and Green Day.
And so we just wanted to end by saying thank you for listening. And there's a website if you want more information. And we wanted to invite the board and everyone to our second letter opening day on January 13th if you wanted to come see what it's all about.
is school, so we do believe in books. And we have books for you, and I'll be giving them to you in a minute. I will tell you though, that one of the things that's fun for me, okay. The way you're talking about like getting matched with someone, getting that first letter is exactly what happens if like you're going to school to be a doctor. So, and I might like, so my kids also went to school here. And one of our kids is going to medical school. And she gets to actually get matched to a school, and then she'll get a letter inviting her. And so everything that you're doing right now is exactly what you get to do as you get older. So it's really kind of cool that they're already, like, you're already practicing that. But thank you for sharing with us, because all of the stuff that you mentioned, I would love to know what happens when two black holes collide. I'm just glad it doesn't happen near me. And I'll tell you what my science teacher used to say every time that she had to leave the room for something, because this is a sciencey thing. And I tell my students the same thing. While I'm leaving, don't set it on fire and don't blow it up. Because with science, we can do both things. So be careful. Gianna.
If I can have boys and girls come to the front for a picture opportunity. We'll have the students and then the teachers may join.
Do you want to go with the teachers and then I'll join second? I'll let the teachers first and then I'll join.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, here I go.
Please do. Thank you so much. Next item, 5B, is to recognize America Ellis, Lincoln Acres School, as a value-added volunteer. Ms. Donna? I'm sorry. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Ms. Ellis was not feeling well and she won't be able to join us today.
Well, if you would like to just speak about her, and then we can bring her back. Or she'll recognize her.
Perfect. So yes, Ms. Ellis, she's a new parent to the community of Lincoln Acres. She has a first grade child with us. And ever since she got started, she has always been very open and willing to participate and volunteer in any area that we have available. She is volunteering in school site council and PTA. So she's part of all of our committees, and she's always looking to do more and learn more on how she can support the school. She pampers our teachers and our whole staff by bringing donuts and bagels, and she's just a great addition to our community, and we're very grateful to her.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Ellis. And she did share they were not feeling well, so I told them it's okay to stay home.
We'll bring her back at another agenda so she can be formally recognized, but at least we can.
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
thank you.
Item 5C is to introduce and welcome new employees. Dr. Kippen?
Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our new employees. I'm going to begin by talking a little bit about the employees who are not present tonight, and then I'll call the rest who are present, and we'll take a photo up here if you wouldn't mind coming up when I call your name. The first one is Patricia Ubina, Child Nutrition Services at John Otis. She was not able to be with us tonight, but Ms. Ubina previously worked as a child nutrition assistant for the National School District and has worked in customer service for Wells Fargo and CG Services. So welcome, Patricia. The next person is Guadalupe Frias Sidholm, school counselor at Rancho de la Nacion. Ms. Frias Sidholm worked as a school community advisor for the Oceanside Unified School District and as a conference interpreter for the California Association of Bilingual Education. She holds a Pupil Personnel Services credential and a BA in Communication from the California State University, Long Beach, and an MA in School Counseling from the University of Massachusetts. Welcome, Guadalupe. Our next employee is Angela Newbold, classroom teacher, grade 1 at Las Palmas School. Ms. Newbold has worked as an impact teacher for the National School District since 2019 and as a substitute teacher since 2013. She holds a multiple subject teaching credential, an AA in transfer studies from San Diego City College, and a BA in liberal studies from Portland State University. Welcome to those employees. And now we'll begin with the employees that are present. Romina Ruela, school psychologist at Lincoln Acres. Ms. Ruela worked as an instructional assistant, special education for the Chula Vista Elementary School District and as a behavior interventionist for comprehensive educational services. She holds a Pupil Personnel Services credential and a BA in psychology and Spanish from San Diego State University. Welcome to me. Maria Vasquez Wolf, classroom teacher, grade 4 at Las Palmas School. Ms. Vasquez Wolf has worked for the National School District as an impact teacher and as a temporary since 2019. She has worked for the South Bay Union School District as an impact and temporary teacher as well. She holds a multiple subject teaching credential and a BA in dance from University of California, Irvine, and an MA in education from National University. Welcome, Maria. Rosario David, campus student supervisor at Palmer Way. Ms. David worked as an employment training specialist for the Goodwill Industries of San Diego County for several years and is currently self-employed as a seamstress. Leah Estrada, campus student supervisor, Lincoln Acres. Ms. Estrada worked in customer service for Subway and Herbalife since 2017. Welcome, Leah. Stephanie Hernandez, instructional assistant, special education at Kimball School. Ms. Hernandez worked as a teacher assistant for Charter School of San Diego and has experience in customer service working as a team member for Toys R Us. She holds an AA in elementary education from San Diego City College. Welcome, Stephanie. Brenda Martinez, Child Nutrition Services Assistant, El Toyon School. Ms. Martinez has worked in customer service with Anzar Enterprises, Select Staffing, and C-Class USA Corporation since 2010. She holds an AA in Liberal Studies, Social and Behavioral Science from Southwestern College. Welcome, Brenda. Caitlin Ponce, Campus Student Supervisor at El Toyon School. Ms. Ponce has customer service working in retail and as a child care worker. Mona Lisa Terrazas, Instructional Assistant Healthcare at Rancho de la Nacion. Ms. Terrazas worked as a campus student supervisor for the National School District since 2019. She worked as a daycare provider for Higher Education Center, Family Resource Center, and as a preschool teacher assistant for VIP Village Preschool Center. She holds an AA in elementary education from San Diego City College. Welcome, Mona Lisa. Lorraine Torres, School Bus Driver, Transportation Department. Ms. Torres has worked as a bus driver for Royal Lines Charter and as a school bus driver for the Sweetwater Union High School District and the Boys and Girls Club of South County. Welcome, Lorraine. And Smyrna Carvajal Zamudio, Campus Student Supervisor, Lincoln Acres School. Ms. Carvajal Zamudio worked as a classroom teacher for Escuela Primaria Francisco E. Madera in Tijuana, Mexico, and in customer service since 2006 as a barista for Coffee Time and De Volada Cafe. Welcome to our new employees.
I'd just like to know if any of them have any other bus drivers in the family, maybe, neighbors, friends.
Welcome and thank you for being here this evening.
That's wondering.
My hand fell out. Thank you. Item 6, public communications. Public communications provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for or communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matters is limited to 3 minutes for one matter and a maximum of 5 minutes for all closed and open session matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter unless such time limit is waived by the majority vote of the board. Members of the public may not yield any time to other speakers. No board action can be taken. We have our city clerk. I was like, that's how you said Ms. Luz Molina here to speak in regards to safety.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Luz Molina, and I am here to talk about unsafe traffic conditions around Olivewood Elementary School. I live near the school, and my youngest boy still attends the school and walks there every day. As many parents, I was saddened and shocked to hear of the incident in which an adult was struck by a car in front of the school in the crosswalk. This incident, along with other examples of what appear to be unsafe traffic conditions near our schools, are of concern and why I am bringing attention to it here today. I am here to call for collaboration between the school board, the city, school officials, parents, and neighbors. This is the key to addressing this issue, which sadly does not apply only to Olivewood Elementary School. As a likely city council member who will be representing this district in a very near future, I hear the community's call to street improvements, to improve our streets, and I am committed to working to see if there is an appropriate solution on the city's side. I am hoping that working together, we can educate and empower our school communities to work for safer streets and more secure school routes. As Principal Santana, principal of elementary school, said in her message to the parents of the school this morning, we would like to remind all students and parents of the shared responsibility they all have in understanding and obeying traffic laws that help maintain safety in and around our school zones. It's also important to understand that street improvements alone are not going to be enough to fix this issue. To that end, I look forward to working with everyone involved to help spread the message that finds the right balance between street improvements and driver education. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the business portion of our agenda. If those who wish to continue to join us, you're more than welcome. But we do understand there's sometimes other things that you're gonna need to attend to, so we wouldn't get offended if you walked out on us. But we invite you to stay if you choose to. Thank you. Item 7 is agenda. 7A is to accept the agenda.
Move to accept. I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If none, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 8 is to approve consent agenda routine items of business. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon in one action by the board. It is understood that the superintendent has recommended approval for these items. There will be no discussion prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent agenda. All items approved by the board will be deemed as considered in full and adopted as recommended. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 9, general functions. 9A is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on October 12, 2022. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of October 12, 2022.
Thank you. And a second?
I second the motion.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please vote. Ms. Sarmiento, I think you need to adjust yours. It says you're absent. There you go.
Item passes 3 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Item 9B is to adopt resolution number 22-23.19 regarding absence of board member Ms. Alma Sarmiento due to illness. At this time, I think, Ms. Sarmiento, you would need to recuse yourself from this item.
You need to leave, so just check. Okay. In case you can't find it.
She won't lock you out. Thank you. I'll read the item again, or if you guys.
Madam President, I wish to approve the 22-23.19.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please vote.
Item passes 3 yes, 4 yes, 1 recuse.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 10, educational services. 10A, presentation of the California Assessment of Student Performance in Progress, Smarter Balance, and California Alternative Assessments results. Dr. Kraft?
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board, Executive Cabinet. It is my pleasure this evening to present the 21-22 CASP results for the National School District. It's been a while since I've been able to be up here to do that. Let's see. So today's presentation is going to give a brief on the CAS performance data overall for the National School District. Zone in on performance in ELA, English Language Arts, as well as math across grade levels, and start looking at some of our target population performance, specifically our English learners and our students with disability. So overall, the National School District in 21-22 had a 32.27% met or exceeded on the English Language Arts component of the CAS. The CAS ranks students on 4 levels, and when a student reaches met or exceeded, they are on track of performing as expected grade level standards. In math, the student performance overall across the district was 22.19% met or exceeded for math. Looking at overall by grade level, meaning the grades across the district, 3rd grade met and exceed hovered, you can see the trend from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, followed similarly to pre-pandemic in that we saw percentage stabilization in 3rd and 4th in the met exceed. We saw a dip in 5th grade and then an uptick in 6th grade in that category and English Language Arts. These scores have a plus or minus in their scale score, meaning to say there can be a difference either up or down of 4 points. We will see the finalized version of that and interpretation of that in our dashboard. In math, we saw our 3rd graders, 25% across the district met and exceeded math expectations. In 4th grade, we are looking at about 22%. 5th grade, again, we saw that dip, 13%. We saw that across the county as well as the state. We did see that trend also in pre-pandemic, and when I get later into the presentation, I'll talk a little bit about the differences in tests. We're still seeing that. And then in 6th grade, 26% overall. Now I want to explore our target groups in the National School District. We have a large percentage of our students who are identified as English learners. That gives them the double task of not only acquiring the content and expected to perform at the grade level, as well as acquiring the English language at that proficiency level. And so in ELA, we have our English learners, 13.2% of them, 20.2% met or exceeded their on the ELA CAS. And in math, we saw 9.5%. When we look across grade levels, we see a similar trend where we see 3rd and 4th grade performing consistently around the same percentage, 13%. We see an uptick about 17% in 4th grade. We see a dip in 5th, 9%, and then a slight uptick in 6th grade at 10%, with none of our students this year meeting the exceeds category, meaning they didn't hit enough of a scale score point to meet that band. In math for our English learners, we see a very similar pattern. We know that the new Common Core math is very heavy language dependent. There is a lot of processing, not just with the numbers, which often can be very universal, but text, a lot of reading and text. And so you'll notice that we see a parallel with the ELA as well as the math in terms of our English learner performance. Again, 16% in 3rd grade, 9% in 4th grade. We start seeing the performance tasks become much more complicated. The short answers become more complicated in terms of syntax and semantics. 3% in 5th grade met it, and 5% in 6th grade. Now I'll move to another target group that we have been watching very closely, and it's our students with disabilities. We have a variety of students identified as are working under an IEP, and it can range on a continuum from a student who is receiving speech services to a student who is in a special day class. And so for our students with disability in ELA, about 9.81% of them met or exceeded in the ELA CAS performance. And in math, about 5.87% met or exceeded. When we look at our students with disabilities across grade levels, we notice that our third grades are performing at about 8.3% met and exceed, fourth, about 15%, fifth, 9.68%, and sixth, 6.4% in the ELA component of the CASP. In math, our students in third grade are meeting and exceeding. About 3.22% of our students have met that criteria. Fourth grade, 8.2%. In fifth grade, 5.38%. In the sixth grade, 6.33% of our students meeting or exceeding the math. This is the CAS. There is an alternative assessment. These are the students who are taking the standard SBAC. We do have students that are taking the CAW, and we will be presenting a different presentation on the students that took that alternative assessment, which is designed for students who qualify. So I know there's been a lot out in the newspaper about the pandemic implications and what the test scores look like. The SBAC, just to remind everyone, in a traditional setting, it often is done several days for about an hour or so every day in a classroom for both ELA and math. The testing period is about 2 weeks, and teachers will often take an hour or a little over to complete the test of each one. It usually takes about a week, but it is a one-time snapshot, and it's summative. It's designed to provide a variety of questions and determine across the standard. So it never really hones in on one particular standard. It gives us a breadth and a dipstick. So as you know, we returned full-time last year from the pandemic, but we did have a lot of regulations from County Department of Health. So we did have erratic attendance. And quarantining them. So we were still dealing with the pandemic. This year, I think, is going to be much more stable in that aspect. But kind of looking at the last time National School District took the CAS that was in normal learning conditions was in 2018 and 2019. The CAS, the SBAC during that time period was what we would call the full summative. It was a much longer test, much more test items, and the items were factor loaded to determine each of the claims areas that are attached to the CAS. During the pandemic, there was a recognition by the state that that traditional test that we took in 18-19 may be too much. And so the state provided us what's called an alternative adjusted summative. It reduced the number of tested items to the extent that we can't make claims. There are target claims that students are supposed to hit, but we weren't able to do that because of the reduction in the items. So the best we can do is kind of just look at kind of trend patterns, because we are kind of comparing apples and oranges. So over time in ELA, over the last few years, in 18-19, the district finished CAS, and we had a 43.08% met or exceed. And that was in the full CAS. During the 2020-2021 school year, the state gave school districts flexibility. Some districts did SBAC, some districts and were in remote status when they did it. Some districts could use local measures. Since we had just come back from being in distance learning and being in remote status, we opted to do, but we were in hybrid. So some of our students were still at home and some of them had come. In 2020 and 2021, we chose our local assessment as granted by the state, iReady, and that is a plus or minus about 5 points. So in terms of correlation with CAS, you can look at iReady and guess that around that, what would be the projection on CAS performance. So we had 37% met or exceed on the CAS. And in 2021 and 2022, we had our first in-person CAS testing in the normal environment that we would normally assess students in class, but it was the adjusted summative. And with that, we have 32.27% of our students met and exceeded. The same component over math, same structure and learning environment. In 18-19 in math, we had 32.04% of our students met and exceeded. When we administered our local assessment in the 2020-2021, 28% met and exceeded. And in 21-22, this last year, we had 22.19% meet and exceed. And this is overall in math. So when we were looking at pandemic impact, we looked at our South County districts. There's information coming out. It's still relatively new about the impact of actually being in distance learning, your grade, and the implication of your performance as a result of your grade level. And so what we were able to do here is to kind of compile the local districts that we are neighbors to look at where we compare as well as we can in terms of performance. I don't have the data of when the students were, whether they were remote or in person, because each district did it differently. So we tried our best. I did pull this data from EdData today, October. And so this is the most recent data. So if you take a look in the first column, it's national school district. And we have what's called an unduplicated count of about 87%. Our students identify in that category. And that's a category that the state is giving additional funding to, because they recognize that districts with the population and dealing with the dynamics that are either socially, emotionally impacted, English learner, foster youth, any of those students count as unduplicated. They count once. And so the higher the number, the more it's recognized the impact or the funding that they will provide, because they understand that there's more to address. We have about 56% English learners, our enrollment. And so in the 18-19 SBAC in column 4, we had, as I said, an ELA 43.08%. In 21-22, we had 32.27% with a delta of negative 10%. We had about a learning loss of about 10%. And we've been seeing that as we've been monitoring and trying to hold to that and grow from that, as opposed to last year, we didn't want to see an additional slip. San Ysidro is probably the closest to us in terms of demographics, as you can see. And in SBAC in 18-19, they were at 40, and they had a near 6% decline also. South Bay had a 6% decline, but they had SBAC at 38.86%, and they had a drop of 32.76. Chula Vista, it's a much larger district, so it has some comparability being our neighbor, but as you can see, their unduplicated count is lower than ours, and they had a drop of about 11%. When you compare us to the state to see what trends happened across all schools, regardless of demographics, all schools in the state of California, in 18-19, overall, the state was at 51%, and they saw a drop of about 47%. I mean, about 4%, and bringing them to 47.2. In math, again, national is in the first column. In 18-19, we were at 32%, and in 21-22, we're at 22.19%, just slightly under a 10% decline. San Isidro was about 9%, our closest neighbor in demographics. South Bay, we saw less than a 1%, but as you can see in 1819, they had only a 16% proficiency met or exceeded, and then they had a slight drop again to 15.39% of their students met and exceed overall. Chula Vista saw about a 10% decline, and the state overall saw about a 6.35% decline. So in response to the data drives our instruction. And so here are some initial next steps that we have already started implementing. We do have a multi-year plan to address and accelerate learning. So some of the actions that are actually in place now is we have a very strong EL-focused professional development with a particular target of math and language within math. We have provided coherence between district initiatives and focus, as well as site focus, and it is on math and language, lots of language. We have a structure where our teachers will be released for data release time, and they will be targeting and inputting plans for students who are not meeting expected performance in our Panorama platform, so that it's clear to everyone and we can put as many resources to support each of those students and instructional opportunities to help them. We will continue with our after-school intervention programming. We're starting up, as you saw in the board memo, at 2 of the schools. The next 2 will launch in about a week and a half. We did increase time for math instruction with the particular target of language and oracy and speaking and writing with math language. Increase writing time across. We are encouraging wherever you can write, because we know that those help us to get gains. If the kids can think it and they can say it and they can write it, it really helps solidify and cement the learning. Our student support services is currently working with our special day class teachers to do curriculum alignment. We have, in order to start moving those data points in a more positive direction. And then we are revisiting our scope and sequence with our teachers and our sites, and really starting to target on the major standards to maximize the time that we have with our students. Any questions?
You mentioned a couple of times the alternative assessment, and I'd like to have a little more clarification on exactly what that is. I didn't know if it was in the same context or not. You did mention it twice. One was when you said the special ed students, and then in the end when you said about the difference, the state, during the state.
Okay, I apologize. The state with the CAS test redid benchmarks and redid the items. And so they call that the adjusted summative. And if I said alternative, I apologize. It's the adjusted summative assessment. So the test that we're taking 2020, 2021 is different than what we had previously, which is in 1819. It's reduced. They revamped all the benchmarks on it to reflect that. And I think that was in response to when we had the extended time in remote learning. They made those adjustments. With the special education, there is an alternative assessment to the SBAC. If a student's IEP determines that the SBAC, the general test that I just went over, is not appropriate for the student, there is a state assessment called the CAA, California Alternative Assessment, in which the student takes it. It's different than this, but it's more appropriate for those students, and we will be bringing a presentation with those results separately for your review. Yeah.
And are we setting a goal as to the increase that we'd like to make over the next year?
Yes. So our principals are currently working on the school plans for student achievement, and they will be setting percentage goal increases within reason, probably about 5 to 6%. to increase in both ELA and math. I would say probably our biggest struggle is again, people. We had a very robust system with impact teachers that helped to allowed us to access more students to provide that double dose. And this year we are very limited with the number of impact teachers. And at some school sites we have none. So we will be doing a lot more work within our classroom with our teachers and focusing on more targeted instruction around those major standards like the high leverage standards. So principals will be working with their staffs and their MTSS teams to be doing that.
Thank you. I was introduced to Panorama and clarify what it is. And I think it's a way to take a plan ahead of time in that specific approach, which is pretty cool. My question is about after school intervention. I know YMCA is now having this after school programming, and what is our capacity, or what is this mentioned like as an intervention for instructional assistant, or as part of the curriculum towards this new goal that is going to come over? What is the capacity from them, or there will be a chances for more besides YMCA?
So we've had an after-school learning program for several years, and basically we formalized it through the state. So it's kind of a little bit complicated. We do bring our students through Apply, through our ACES program, so that there's supervision. The teacher releases the kids, they'll go to REACH, and they'll wait. But our classroom teachers who volunteer will take an after-school student group, and they will target ELA. And for ELA, we use Achieve 3000, and we have seen very positive results in students that who are doing about 2 activities a week. We see an increase in their lexile, a significant increase. So there'll be an ELA intervention after school with our classroom teachers who are willing to do it. And then we have leveraged learning, math with our UCI, and that will be, we have a little math, kind of a curriculum for after school learning that reinforces and it uses the materials that the classroom teachers are using. And generally that's performance tasks, a skill set, and a conceptual component of building. And so students who will be identified based on their performance data and their target will be put into the after school learning program. And so we have 2 schools right now. We generally notify parents and ask them if the students can stay after school. The sessions are generally 90 minutes for both ELA and math. Sometimes if you're in REACH, we have like an AM, like a shift A and a shift B. And the first shift will be a lot of the students who have to leave early, let's say at 4:30, they'll get served. And then if you're in REACH, you'll go to the second shift and you'll go with the teacher. A lot of it is driven with who can serve, who would be able to teach. With REACH, the way that the ACES grant is written, there is about an hour component that we are required for the grant funding to provide for academics, and that's that tutoring component. So our REACH staff will be able to tutor, and they generally do things, since they're not certificated staff, that is lighter in terms of you don't need a credential to have sustained silent reading, and we know that silent reading at your level will increase vocabulary and have positive gains. And even though it's passive, it's very active in terms of increasing it. And in addition, we have a program called Leverage Learning. It doesn't require instruction. It does require an adult to, go around, monitor, and help. And it's a self-adapted program. Depending on what students say, it'll change on it. And it really is targeted for our upper grade kids. We did see when we start drilling down into the data, multiplication, division, and decimals are where our kids need additional support in that middle group. And so that's what that will be targeting. And then of course the school sites will often, depending on what the teachers will do early literacy with their classroom teachers.
All right, thank you. My second thought about this still support services for curriculum alignment. I know I'm not surprised about this data because the academic recovery and the academic loss is August. It's as a consequence of the pandemic that strikes us all. So it will be, just keep in mind that this is 2020, 21, 22 results. So they will have more because we already have something in place of this school year, looking forward for the remainder of the school year. So especially for the special day classes that they're having struggle right now because the trauma and the mental health component is also there and is reflected on this data. So I want to encourage all the people that have CCC students and that be hanging there and will be relying on these services that they're working on for the following plan for these numbers to increase a little bit more. It is less alarming because they need it and because they were severely impacted by that academic loss.
Yes.
So,
yes, and in addition, we agree, and so there's a lot of discussions about with special day classes, it's more nuanced, it's more personalized, and so we will begin that process this year of that curriculum alignment, the scope and sequence alignment, and Dr. Vargas will be working with the teams to start moving in that direction, and it may result in an official adoption. It may result in just a planning session, but we're really going to work closely with our classroom teachers. And I think you bring up a very important point that although we want to rush it, you are correct in that we have other factors that came out of the pandemic that we are addressing, and that may pull them from those academic components, and rightly so. And so we are trying to balance that social emotional piece that we know is prevalent and the behavior piece while still pushing forward with the academics.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gates?
I wanted to thank you for sharing this with us. I also definitely want to honor the work of our students and our families and our teachers because there was, and principals. And sorry, I want to leave you. Because this, I'm not sure we have data from 1918 when the Spanish influenza. So, well, somewhere, but one of the things, just being realistic, that students lost was stamina. And that is one of the places where that adjusted assessment helped because they were not required, it was not required to be as long. But it has also affected the classrooms because just sitting and read, like it used to be the students could sit and read for 45 minutes and it wasn't a problem. And now they get the fidgets at 5, 10. And so there are things that teachers are definitely working on with students as we've returned. That fifth grade dip you didn't really go into, but my perspective, first grade, for instance, is a very foundational year. You start learning how to add, and then in second grade we go, ooh, you could do 2 columns now, let's do 2 digits. And so that builds on the skill you learned. Then third grade, we start teaching multiplication. In fourth grade, we can do double-digit multiplication. There's a big jump in concept in a lot of areas in fifth grade.
And expectation.
Yes. And so I think we kind of think that these things are linear, and they aren't. They build. And this is kind of my point here. We took a hit. Every student took a hit in the foundational space. And so that foundation, teachers have been backfilling last year. I am looking forward to our future assessments, our future knowledge of our kids, as Ms. Lizarraga said, because we will get to see the growth in new ways. I said what feels like 1,000 years ago, but probably was last year. This is, in some ways, this is a new baseline we have to work from.
Yes.
We honor what we have done before, but know that in so many ways we're starting new. We are still getting some students who weren't online and distance learning.
Correct.
And because of COVID, whose parents didn't send them to school last year. And so they have 2 years of missed. And so in all of that, like, this isn't really a question. This is just, as we look at these numbers, there are things to pay attention to. I remember being excited when we made the transition to this calendar schedule, because the research shows that after 2 weeks, academic skills begin to be lost. So some of those things, you know, you turn around and you remember like your math formula or whatever. After 2 weeks of not using it, you start to forget stuff. That's 2 weeks. We were out of school for a year.
More.
And so, and granted, still meeting with teachers, still doing that job, but it's had its impacts. And in talking with staff and school sites, they are working hard. And so I want to make sure that we also, once again, say we honor the work that's being done. This doesn't show it all to us. And yet it shows us some, but it doesn't show us all. And that's why we bring children and get excited for them to show us their rocks and their black holes and other things, to remind us that not everything is tested. So thank you for sharing this.
Yes,
and
and
I'm looking forward to seeing where we're headed. And the question for me is, how do we best support our teachers who are tired and our students who are still getting their feet under them?
And I think I concur. I believe that our teachers did a phenomenal job and continue to do so. Our staff, our administrators, I was humbled during the pandemic to see all the efforts that were made for our kids. And so I think the answer, if I may be bold enough to suggest, is we do it together, as we have been. And so although the numbers look different, I look at them from a perspective of we had a switch, an entire system switch, and I think it could have been much more significant if not for the focus of our teams working together and committed to our families. And coming out of it, we must remember there are those other factors. Just the stamina piece alone is significant. And so we do it through balance, because our teachers, our families, they are dealing with other components also. So I concur with you, and I am proud of where we are, and I know where we're going is up.
Ms. Sarmiento?
Thank you. I'd like to request that a comparison between our numbers from last year and this year, and then again next year, to see how we're growing, if we're growing. And also I'd like to see it on a school by school basis, because obviously if we're doing something right, we want to bottle that, we want to sell it, we want to make sure that we're productive and we're making progress as a result. So I would like to see those numbers on a regular basis, please.
Yeah, the SBAC is scheduled for May, but I can bring the iReady, which is our benchmark assessment. And as I said, they do projections and correlations with SBAC, but you see a plus or minus of about 5.
And I'd like to see apples to apples, so the SBAC and the SBAC and the CASP and the CASP, and from year to year.
So it would be this year's SBAC, and I believe this year we are being administered the adjusted. If they are not, and they go back to the summative, then I'll have to inform the board. We don't have it on. They're going to give us what we're going to get. So hopefully it'll maintain. So far, what I've looked at when the blueprint, it should be the adjusted again. I don't know when they're going to go back to the full, but we can compare iReady for sure. And I think it's important also to compare environments. And so we do have that consistency now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you. I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Kraft. I know when I had asked you to present, the information was not published yet, and I know I wanted to give this information so that we were being transparent. But now that it's published, that information is available. Where can families, parents access the data so that they can view their child's information?
There is a website, a CAFS website, and I can put that out into a parent letter, but parents did receive their child's individual score. They received it actually before we got the culminated data. The data was released, I think 2 or 3 days ago. And so, but I will be happy to put that, and I can put it on our website also.
I think that would be great. That way, of course, if they misplace the paper, they can
Right.
access it and be able to review those and perhaps, ask if their children need support, reach out to our school.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Dr. How did the parents receive the information? Was it via the US mail?
So yes, the state before used to provide us, we would get the individual student scores. We can go into a website and it's usually, all of the fifth grade at Central. It's not delineated by teacher. It's just if you're a fifth grader at Central. And it's the PDF and it talks about the student. And historically we would get the big data for the school, and this year we did not. So early on, when that data was available in the website that we normally go, the only data available was that student data. So we did go through, we did print them out, and we did send them via mail. We have, we can upload them into our parent portal, and I believe that portions of the parents that do the parent portal received it in the parent portal, and it lives there in a parent view. Which is nicer, but the parents that didn't respond or weren't able to do it, we did send them a mail version, but it's also in their parent view. It's just getting used to our new online system.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that information was available to our parents if they didn't receive the hard copy of it.
We'll make sure of that. Thank you.
And again, thank you for your presentation. I know that we just got the information, official information 2 days ago, so you've been working hard, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think one last comment.
You mentioned May. I'm wondering, where do we normally sit in the window, and have we talked to teachers about a preferred time? Because the window that they give us for taking this stretches from like the end of March almost through to the end of the school year.
Right.
And speaking for a number of teachers, we hate taking it in March because we still have two months to teach.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering what goes into our decision-making on when to have the students take this assessment, to optimize time, to give students the best time to learn and succeed, and to also not leave teachers with the last 2 months where everybody's like, we took the test, so what are we doing learning anything? Because that's never fun.
Right. Historically, we have done it May for that exact reason. This assesses the grade level standards, so the longer you have access to them, the longer the teacher has the opportunity to teach them. And a fellow administrator just told me, for an English learner, you are doing about, 18 months of curriculum because you got the double duty in 9 months. So we want to maximize the time that our teachers can do that magic. And so we have to backwards plan, and all of the data is due usually the last or the second to the last week of May. And so we backwards plan. We have to plan a week of makeups, and then we want to make sure we give teachers ample time to do it. They kind of develop within their sites and with their principals. If a particular group, let's say for some reason, it used to be camp, needed to do it because they could only get into camp, we would allow them to do it as long as it's in their testing window. But thankfully, most of that will be done, and the teachers will have an opportunity then at a directed time. So we are in May. If teachers wanted to do it sooner, of course, they could ask as long as it's in the window, and usually for a reason, but generally they like the later date.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that impacts because class to class, I mean, one of the things we have to be attentive to is that we are not accused of sharing information about the test. So allowing one teacher or one school site to take prior to another, how does that play?
It is that you are not to share it. You sign an affidavit, a security affidavit, and it's been rare, and it's only been in those circumstances. It's actually, the only time I've ever seen it is actually when camp interfered. Outside of that, we try to prevent, obviously, any kind of interruption during that time, but the teachers are pretty cognizant, and they build their schedule around that time.
Dr. Braden?
Sorry, I know that we have other items on the agenda, but Dr. Kraft, I want to go back to some of the questions that were asked by the board members, and your comment, Trustee Dahl asked about the adjusted CASP. And we know that the scores are just coming out this week, and they're not seeing a correlation between schools that opened up sooner versus schools that stayed closed longer in terms of the learning loss. But they are seeing that across the state, schools went down. Is there any discussion about the adjusted CASP having less questions? So if you take a test with 100 questions, every question right or wrong is worth 2 points, versus if you take a test with 10 questions, every question is worth significantly more, and you have more opportunity to have a lower score if you have less opportunity to get questions right. Is that part of the conversation that's starting to happen? And is the state going to take that into consideration when given the non-adjusted test again?
So I agree, and that did come up. I don't know to what extent it's influencing the decision of the state. Those discussions are still out there. It's preliminary discussions also regarding, who returned, who didn't, and it's kind of, quite honestly, when I see the published for across the county, districts that are very different from us. They're kind of up and down all over the place. So I don't know if that's yet conclusive, and but that did come up with the adjusted. You have less opportunity to show what you know. And as I shared, one of the points that I'm curious about is the target claims. We have claims within the SBAC, which are important because they're like the enduring learning kind of that articulated. And with the adjusted, there weren't sufficient questions to be able to pull out the data to decide on a claim. And so I'm not sure what the direction of the state is, but I will update us as we get more information. We're just going to be finishing initial LPACs. We'll start summative LPACs, but I think by that time we'll start getting more data what CASP is going to look like this year.
Might be something our delegate assembly could talk about with CSBA.
Yes.
Great. I do have a question though in regards to the, when we have a comparison within our different districts, if we're doing the adjusted one or the traditional one in another district of our neighbors.
Oh, no, we're all doing the same one. We all did the adjusted.
So if there wouldn't be any difference between districts or anything, it would just be across the state.
Right. I think the adjusted is like, so you're comparing apples to apples. If you compare our test score this year, 2022-23, and let's say Chula Vista, the state we will get maybe not necessarily the same version, but a like version of the adjusted. But we did see that discrepancy you're talking about in 2021, where there were those options of what you can do. And that's why it was difficult to compare. And it was the first year of that adjusted too.
Well, again, thank you for your presentation. And of course, thank you to all of our educators and our support staff that made it happen. I know it hasn't been an easy ride since the pandemic, but I know that we are only going to go up here. So
yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Moving on to item 10B is to approve an out-of-state travel for Angelica Benitez and Kathy Melanese to attend Elevations 2022 Educator Summit. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve item 10B.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please, oh wait, I'm sorry. Dr. Kraft?
I just wanted to share with the board Elevation. We're looking at a pilot. Our EL liaisons are, we have a large percentage of English learners, and we have a large percentage of students who were once English learners and have been reclassified. The state does require us to monitor those students, and the requirements for what we have to report has become quite extensive. Quite extensive with respect to it. And so we are exploring as a pilot Elevation with our EL liaisons. This is an opportunity for streamlining the monitoring form. And we have to monitor our ELs for our reclassified students for 4 years and ensure that they maintain that continued growth, kind of the data that I'm sharing, and are on par with performing like an EO native speaking counterpart. And so we're hoping that this program will help streamline that and give our EL liaisons the opportunity to use data to work closely with our classroom teachers to address any discrepancies or interventions.
Thank you. She hasn't voted yet.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. If we have any additional questions or discussion? No? Okay, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Okay, so you're changing.
Now we're changed.
Now we're good. Thank you. Item 10C is to approve number CT 3976 with BCK Programs LLC for garden and composing educational program at Palmer Way School. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the contract CT 3976 for BCK.
And a second.
I'll second. Discussion.
Do we have any discussion? Ms. Sarmiento?
Yeah, I'd like to know how this is different than the previous programs that we've had.
Dr. Kraft?
Like, you want me to answer?
Yes, I was.
Just from here, or do you want me to go?
Because it says a robust education record. That's what I stand up for.
All right. Oh, good evening, everyone. Yeah, it doesn't differ. It just provides more support. However, every year we try to grow our program more so that we're always looking for ways to reduce waste. And through the use of our sustainability committee, we've come up with ways where we're now not only composting fruit, but we have a vermicomposter, which is doing the composting with the worms. But we're also really doing a lot with reclaiming fruit that wasn't eaten during lunch is now recollected and then washed and redistributed in the afternoons. So again, BCK works with us in making sure that we're composting correctly, that we're vermicomposting correctly. And so they actually also help provide classes. When we first began, we had one class doing it just for 6th graders. Now we have multiple classes doing the composting in conjunction with our gardening.
It's just a comment of it, but I know that you included the TK students in this one. So
well, the TK students are included in the gardening. I think we go down now to about 2nd grade with the composting. When they're really little, it's still we still haven't got them involved in the actual composting yet, but they are involved with the gardening lessons and all of that.
yeah, and another comment. I know I've been in board almost 2 years now, and the first presentation that I got was from your students.
Oh, okay.
So I know they're 6th graders now because they're going to 4th grade. Or what is going to be their mentorship for the little ones that are taking over their this pilot program on the way. And so it will be exciting to know.
Okay, yeah, no, I think it's great what they're doing, and I know our school's already presented this year, but we'd be more than happy to come back and give an update on how the program is going, because we're very proud of what we do at Palmer Way when it comes to our global goal of trying to reduce waste, and we would love to come back and give you an update on how we're doing with
That would
that.
be lovely, thank you.
I was just curious because I know when we started, we were paying $1,000 per school, and now we're up to 4,000, and it says a more robust program. So I was just curious as to what you meant by robust.
We're doing more classes. Like I said, when we first began, we did basically one teacher volunteered to kind of say, hey, I'll take on composting. Now, like I said, we do almost all grade levels, 2nd through 6th grade. So I think that's what we mean by robust. Now it's much more comprehensive, and I think before we had one standalone composter that one teacher would collect the bucket. Somebody would come in every so often and show us how to compost correctly. But since that time, now I think we have 4 actual composters, not including the vermicomposter. And like I said, and we're looking for more ways to reduce waste, and that's what PCK helps us to do.
It's good to hear that you guys are reclaiming the fruits and because I know that traditionally they just get tossed out.
Yes.
So I would hope that the other schools follow suit, because oftentimes the students at the moment are not interested, but later on, after running around or what have you, they would like to enjoy it, and we're not wasting all of the excess to just throwing them in the trash.
So we're very proud of that, and we're working very closely with our child nutrition department. John Hansen works with us to make sure we stay within health guidelines as well. But I think within our sustainability committee, we have goals that we've set up. So we meet with other principals, and then we share those results also with other schools. So we do have goals that we're not the only ones, but we want to spread that out to everybody also.
Awesome, thank you. Do you have any additional questions? So we have a motion in a second. Okay, if we have no additional, please vote.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 10D is to approve CT 3981 with Parent Institution for Quality Education for grant-funded family literacy classes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I second the motion to approve the contract.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, if not, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 10E is to approve CT 3984 with the Healthy Teacher Freedom Fitness Personal Training LLC. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Is this only for certificated employees?
No, it's for certificated and classified. It is optional if they would like to participate, as I was up at the podium discussing balance. We do have funding geared towards supporting staff in that aspect. We did have a version of this internal, not quite like this, and we got a lot of positive feedback. It was just a place to learn some strategies to process. And with the Healthy Teacher, it's
that's just the name of it, but that is kind of the focus is as you're coming back as an adult, how do you balance? How do you have some strategies under your belt and just working to support that? They were generous enough to give options for morning and afternoon so that more staff could do it if they chose to do it.
So this is open to all staff. If we don't have it, if we have more than the allotted amount, would we be able to have an additional round of it?
So we were, if we found that the demand was higher than what we anticipated, we were, kind of gauging it based off other performance, then we would obviously speak to them and then bring it back to the board if it was going to be an increased cost.
Yeah, just a comment about the 1 hour sessions. There are 4 sessions total. So self-care, it's super important. So hopefully all the teachers take advantage of this and use this resource because it will be a very well invested 4 hour session. And there's morning and afternoon session depending on what the preference is. So hopefully they can take advantage of this. It's a great tool. So knowing that the fact that topic is really finding self-love, self-confidence, self-advocacy, and self-care, which is not the trending, but something that we haven't explored before. And now we were mindful about this, so hopefully we can use this tool. Thank you.
Dr. Brady?
Yes, I just wanted to add that this is open to all employees and board members. So if the board members would like to participate, it's anybody that works in our organization and affects children in any way. If we have open spots, we could also open it up to volunteers that work with our students as well. So we'll see what our staff, the funding really is intended for social emotional for staff. Is that correct? Title IV dollars. And so this is a very unique program. And like Dr. Kraft said, we're planning to do one before the contract hours start in the morning from like 7 to 8 o'clock, somewhere in that range. And then again, at the very end of the day from like 4:30 to 5 at the end of most people's work days so that people can choose what works for them. And hopefully we'll get great participation and we'll be bringing this back to have another round as well.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. If no additional discussion, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 10F is to approve CT 4001 with Heroes of Color LLC to provide an animation program for 5th grade students. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve contract 4001.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If none, Dr. Kraft?
Yes, I just wanted to share with the board, this is a very exciting program. We had a playlist as well as instruction happening and really a lot of our 5th grade teachers doing it around social justice. And we will actually have current animators who are practicing animators come down and work with our students to create storyboards, and as I shared, the writing, and it is one of the standards also, but the writing for a storyboard to create an animated social justice piece on their iPad, and then we will publish it on a YouTube channel to share so that others might learn from what our students get. So it's very exciting.
Yes, it is exciting. I just want to see if we can see it on a presentation for us, specifically for the board.
Yes.
So everybody can see if they don't have a chance to be, because I don't have a 5th grader anymore, so I would like to see.
Well, maybe they'll let you participate too.
Yeah, I have an animator at home, so I can say this is exciting. This is challenge. It's a release, and it's coping with drawing. And even though it's on an iPad or by hand, but with a pencil, it's coping with some skills and self-care too. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional discussion? Okay, please vote.
Okay.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 10G is to approve CT 4005 with Susan Wetzel to provide language and speech services to students with individualized education plans. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract CT 4005.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have any discussion?
I do. Susan Wetzel's as compared to our own speech language pathologists.
Same credentials. We have been struggling to fill a speech and language pathologist position. We have been working with our SELPA, have posted it for an extended period of time and in hopes of securing somebody. We do have students who have not been receiving services, and we do cushion minutes in the IEP, but we can't wait any longer or we might be out of compliance. And so she will come temporarily until we can hopefully secure our own SLP.
And so some of my follow-up with that is, we saw an increase because of having the distance learning year with students who weren't with us face-to-face, so we had an extra bump, especially on our younger children, as they actually came and were in front of us, and teachers were like, oh, speech and language issue, we should meet this need, but in other IEP areas as well. How have we been doing with distributing workload and caseload? And you know that I think of them as two separate things, and I would much rather prefer to talk about workload, because caseload numbers don't honor how much work is being done. And so I realized, because you did just say we're needing to make sure we get those minutes started, but have we distributed across like the students who were not being covered? Have they been distributed, or have we just not served at all? What's going on there?
We actually saw an influx from county, regional, into our preschool and STC preschool programs. And so we saw an influx there, and that's where we're seeing a significant increase in need. And we are shy an SLP still. So this individual will be going, providing those services immediately. We have been in conversation with parents that are a bit concerned about the spacing. We did have services. There was a break in terms of being able to provide that. And so we need to bring that back and provide those speech and language services. And we will be targeting our primary grades, especially our SDC preschool.
Also, sorry, I got a list of bilingual speech language pathologists. Where are we in meeting the needs of our students in both Spanish and English? Because that also puts whoever our bilingual teachers are, as far as speech language, it really puts a load on them. And I know that, like you said, finding our SLPs has been hard, and then finding one who's able to meet bilingual needs even harder. So where are we with that? Does she meet any of those needs?
We've had the position posted for quite some time. It is posted as bilingual preferred. We don't have a job title that says bilingual speech pathologist, but it is bilingual preferred. And coming soon in the HR section, we'll have some partnerships with some universities, and we're hoping that we can draw some candidates from those.
Yes. Which begs the question, should we have a bilingual speech language pathologist straight up?
That would be something that would be ideal. So we could have a new job description for that.
Well, because preferred doesn't meet that need. And so I don't want to be abandoning some of our students And
But sometimes
I realize sometimes we,
equal opportunity portion of the.
I,
Yes,
yes, but
that's why they use the word preferred.
I realize, but at the same time, if our flat out need is for someone who is someone who is a Spanish speaking speech language pathologist, then we need to have the Spanish one who meets that need no matter what.
I think
So
that
what do
we need to get anybody, we're trying to get a person here, we can't even get an English person.
I realize, I'm just asking like how do we meet the needs that we have if we always have a back door that lets us out of really meeting that need? I don't know how we're supposed to do that well.
Right, it's been a difficult position to fill, so. Dr. Brady?
Yeah, so our backdoor has always been to go to an agency and to use agencies to help us during the times where we are posting and recruiting. And we have exhausted all of our agencies that the board has approved us to use, that the SELPA has approved us to use. Like Dr. Kraft was saying, we've been looking at the agencies. Dr. Keppen is new to us. We explored the agencies that she worked with in her previous district to see if they had any SLPs. Hospitals are using SLPs and they're having trouble getting speech and language pathologists. Universities, there aren't a lot of programs, so fewer and fewer people are graduating and fewer of those are bilingual. But of course, we would love to recruit them. We are at a point where we are very nervous for our students that need these services, that we aren't able to locate even temporary support. We've had 0 applicants. We kept our speech and language pathologist that actually resigned and went to a different district, and we kept her longer, 3 weeks longer than, and then we had the fall break to cushion that. So we thought we'd get at least some applicants and be able to interview. And we got 0 applicants in those 5 weeks. Coming back from fall break, we've reposted the position to the top of our EdJoin. We've gotten 0 applicants as well, people with the credential. So we have worked with our attorneys to provide prior written notice to the parents of the students affected, that we will make up those minutes, but they're not being delivered in the way the IEPs are written at this time because we cannot find, even in English only, speech and language pathologists. So we're going to continue to shake the trees. This is a contract for somebody that is an independent contractor that is willing to come and provide services to our students. So we're really hoping that the board will consider approving Susan Wetzel while we continue to recruit both speech and language pathologists and bilingual speech and language pathologists. And like Dr. Kevin said, work with our universities and try to get the student teachers or the comparable service that they have to do for their speech and language credential to be here in National so they can fall in love with us and stay with us. And that would be a great way to recruit as well.
Thank you. I was reading the duration of this contract is on all the way now to the end of the school year. How flexible can be this to extend it to at least to 1 more year or 6 more months? So I don't know, because it's not stated on the contract if successful or if not fulfill the position, how is the flexibility to get another contract done?
So we're hoping that we won't have to do that. We are also exploring another avenue which might yield bilingual candidates, and that is to increase our partnerships for SLPAs. They do have to work under the tutelage of fully credentialed, but hopefully we can start building and reaching out and seeing if we can get more SLPAs. We currently have 1.
Can you define SLPAs, please?
Oh, speech and language pathologist. I don't know what the A, assistant. I was like, I don't know what the A stands for. An assistant, but it's think of it as like a student teaching, getting your hours in, apprenticeship. Maybe that would be a better way of doing it. And so if we have those individuals, they are just shy of being fully credentialed. And when we've had them, they've been very successful. And then that also provides us the opportunity to keep them. And so we're also exploring that. But now, hopefully, we will work with, we'll be able to provide the students the services they need in the interim. And hopefully by the end of the year, we will be fully staffed and not have to worry about it.
Thank you. But nonetheless, we would bring it back if we needed to.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 10H is to approve CT 4006 with San Diego County Superintendent of Schools to provide a multilingual California project. Can I get a motion?
I will move to approve contract 4006.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If none, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11, Human Resources. 11A is to approve Teacher of the Year qualifications and nomination criteria for the 2022-2023 school year. Can I get a motion?
I would like to make that motion, please.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11B is to approve classified employee of the year qualifications and nomination criteria for the 2022-2023 school year. Can I get a motion?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11C is to amend CT 3847 with Swing Education to provide substitutes. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Do we have any discussion? I just want to make a comment. I just wanted to kind of reiterate the importance of always using our district subs first, and then this would be an alternate option, and then before we obviously outsource anything.
Yes, we always try to go through our own system first. We just got 3 new candidates apply last week, yay. But we're always looking to recruit for our own substitute needs before having to go to Swing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Do you have any additional comments, discussion? Okay, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11D is to approve agreement CT 4002 with Point Loma Nazarene University and the National School District for an unpaid fieldwork agreement.
I would like to abstain from this just because it's straight up my husband's university and I just don't like making it messy. So I'll be abstaining.
I'll move to.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any additional comments? Discussion? Okay, please vote.
Item passes 4 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Item 11E is to approve agreement CT 4003 with Western Governor University for an unpaid student teaching agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I will second.
any discussion? Now please vote. Can you please vote? Yeah.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 11F is to approve CT 4008 with Grand Canyon University for participants in learning, leading, and serving agreements out of state. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve CT 4008.
I'll make that second motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do you have any discussions, comments? If not, please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
I just have to say, I know somebody who goes there and she would have loved to come back, but because it's like, they're like, very popular. They're grabbing them very quickly.
She has herself here.
No. No. She's becoming a teacher and she's about this high, so they confuse her as a student. Yes. Okay, so item 12 is business services. 12A is adjust monthly stipend for governing board members. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve, but I would like to see if there's an explanation why, because we pulled this one from the last board meeting. I didn't like it, just so the audience to know why we're doing this.
So the purpose of us having pulled it last board meeting was because not all board members were available. So we wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity, every board member had an opportunity to vote on it. If I'm incorrect, Ms. Allen?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so we wanted to bring it back to ensure that everybody had an opportunity.
Now we have all the full
Yes,
board
ma'am.
member trustees here, so thank you so much for doing that, Ms. Alice. So now we have a green light to go, so I'm motion to approve.
Perfect, thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Dr. Brady?
Yeah, I just wanted to, note for the record that this is not a new expenditure. The board is approving that this was a clerical error made on our end, on the district end. And a previous approval was not actually credited to board members in your stipend. So this is just, that money was carried over into our reserves. We're actually going back and correcting a past mistake with this approval, but this will allow us to make that correction. So thank you.
So we've already approved the monies to be spent. Now we just need to spend them. Correct. Sounds good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 12B is to approve CT 4004 with Managed Health Network to provide an employee assistance program for non-benefited staff.
I make a motion to approve the contract, 12B.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Now please vote.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 13 is Board Cabinet Communications. Mrs. Allen.
Thank you. I just would like to thank the Lincoln Acres students for their wonderful presentation on the pre-scientists. And I'm hoping that we get a lot of scientists from that group. They did a wonderful job presenting. And I'd also like to welcome the new employees. We had quite a few of them this time, so I guess that's a good thing. And last but not least, I would like to say a pre-happy birthday to President Maria Betancourt Castaneda, whose birthday is tomorrow. And also to my husband, my dad, whose birthday is tomorrow as well. And I wish you all a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Rega?
Thank you. I just wanted to get back up on the information for the Lincoln Acres students. And one of the letters says, because there's a question that constantly saying, what we need math for? And one of the students that replied back from Pennsylvania say, I use it now for my work. And it's a constant a question of students say, what would you do math for? So now they're making more mindful that if I use it now, I'm not be using it in the future now. So they're going to be more mindful about it. So it's exciting to see that the big ones are that the older students that are in the colleges are making connections with them, and now they're, well, that's important for me now to start at an early age as a 5th grade, 6th grade. So, and thank you so much for Ms. Daniela Joyce for her presentation as a principal. So I'm excited because she went fluent. She's doing great, and I heard very good comments about her. And also, didn't mention last board meeting, but I had an opportunity to visit Kimball School with Mr. Lopez, and I was very surprised to see the family environment that he's creating on the school. And I would like to recognize the part. Everybody's saying, hola, hello, buenos dias, ¿cómo están? So in both languages. And they were fluent now. They have no accent, and they have excitement to see that this is inclusion, and the environment feels much better. And he's doing an outstanding job, with the staff and all the students and the teachers there. So I would like to give a shout out to Mr. Lopez and his staff. I had the opportunity to be in Ocean Connectors, and I wanted to congratulate them on their anniversary of the 10th anniversary. They're doing an outstanding job, and hopefully they continue their partnership in regards to ocean care and environmental care too. So I'm very excited to continue the partnership. And I'll also shout out to the staff of Oliver Gardens by heart, because I see the kids are learning now. They're coming back from 4th grade. They're leaving school this school year, and they're rocking it, and they're making questions, starting conversation about plague, and now they saw gopher that attacking their plants. Now they planted before. They got excited. Say, can we see the gopher? Can you save it for later if you kill it? I said, no way. I said, when you throw it away, right? But they see that they destroy the crops, and now they say, can we see it? So it's exciting to see that they start conversation about hand water versus irrigation, and there's 3 sisters. They're making strong connections with the land and honoring the soil, and that's something that I have to be proud to say. They very encouraged to say, now I got the legacy now of being here, and I will hopefully to come back, because we have one of the first come back to see the house, and there was 3 students from different schools on the same curriculum talking to each other on our tour on Saturday. And we saw that, and we want to shout out to those students who said, I was here too, and said, oh, I learned this too. So they were sharing together as a generational milestone to share on the future. So we can bring them back, and they can share more with their peers. And so far, and thank you so much for the lovely card that you guys did for me, and extending the happy birthday to you, President Maria Betancourt Castañeda, and best wishes to you. Have a good night. And also, she survived. Mara Lisa Terraza, she's one of my friends. She survived her first board meeting, so thank you for staying again. So thank you, and hopefully you can see what is to be here. And it's not easy, but we can do it together.
Thank you. Ms. Gates? Happy birthday. I would sing, but I don't even let my kids sing, because you never know what key everybody will end up in. It can be scary.
I'm sure you sing beautiful.
Well, and there's too many Scooby-Doos and the rest of the versions. Thank you to our Lincoln Acres kids and teachers for coming and sharing with us, because we know that on top of your regular lessons, teachers are seeking extra ways to engage our students. And I had never heard of letters to a pre-scientist. And I kind of feel like they can drop the pre part, because you know that once you have a kid sit in front of you and you go, but what do you see? And what questions do you ask? Like, what do you want to know? That they're already they're starting that walk down the road as a scientist, because those are the 2 most important questions. What do you observe? And what questions does it ask, or does it make you ask? So thank you for sharing that with us. I also got to go to the Ocean Connectors event, another science event. And I grew up in Pennsylvania, people. You don't know how lucky you are with this whole Pacific Ocean thing sitting next to you to enjoy. So, but I will also tell you, I know, no, but I'll also tell you that having grown up there, my dad also hated gophers. There's no, when we would, yeah, if you go to the zoo and there's gophers or prairie dogs, he's like, why are they here? They should be dead, because they ruined the farm. So, don't listen to my dad. But I would also like one reminder after thanking Dr. Kraft and your crew. Thank you for your CAST presentation. And I'd also like to thank Dr. I need to pronounce your name correctly. Dr. Kevin. Thank you. But honestly, thank you for the battle that you do, because in some ways it is. We're scrapping and fighting and working to keep every employee we have and to offer the best to them. So whether it's for bargaining and the work you do there with your team, whether it is going out and beating every bush to find people to interview, and then also for the grace and understanding to say yes and also say no when a person's not our best fit. Thank you for taking that on. And Mr. Evanescens, you keep us hopefully on that straight and narrow and tell us what we can and cannot. And it's a joy when your answer is yes. And so we look for joy from you. I do want to encourage our kids this weekend. Families, please. It is the Halloween weekend and we will be seeing children out. Do your best to pay attention. Make sure somebody has a good light in your group. If you haven't found them already, go find your little glow sticks or whatever it is that you can ring around your children's arms and necks and whatever we can so that we keep our children as safe as possible. Ms. Molina's conversation about our safety on the streets. I mean, that's during the day when we can see. Please be wise as we celebrate this holiday this weekend in National City. And thank you.
Ms. Sarmiento?
And to piggyback on that, I think I saw on the news today where it said, take your young children out early while it's still light. That's probably the best thing you can do. Couple of things. I want to thank the board for approving my absence, but also too with the lovely flowers during my subsequent hospitalization. They were much appreciated and I still have them and they haven't died yet. I'm going to plant them. Also, I had a call from Mr. Louis Natividad, our planning commissioner, requesting information to, apparently there's a business, U-Haul in National City, that wanted to do, they wanted something from the city council. And Louis, of course, first and foremost says, well, what are you doing for us? What are you doing for our kids? And, you say you want us to help you with this, that, or the other, but it also piggybacked on what Mona Rios had said on a previous meeting where they were talking about In-N-Out Burger coming to town again, Plaza and 805. And Mona Rios asked the person who represented them, she said, well, what are you doing for our kids? Your other location has been here for, I want to say over 10 years now, but what have you done for our kids? And shame on you if you haven't. And they said, well, no one's approached us. Well, come on, you're a big business. You can very easily look up the names of the schools or the school districts in the community. So, Dr. Brady, that's just a little hint for you to contact them and ask them, what can you do for us? I remember they used to bring out their big old motorhome and they would serve burgers for an event that was going on in the community. Or they also have gift certificates they can give for perfect attendance or kids that have, high scores. So, those types of things, and not just In-N-Out, but any organization, people are willing to help out, but sometimes they need to be told what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know what the need is. I remember when I owned a restaurant, we would make gift certificates and a free meal for the kid, from the drink to the dessert, whatever they wanted. And they could come in, order anything off the menu, including the steaks, and just to let them know that we support the kids. And I think that's important. Also, let's see, the Lincoln Acre students, good for them. Pre-scientist pen pals, wow, that was very impressive. And I hope to see that continued, and not just with scientists. Also, welcome new employees. And knowing that we're still hurting for employees, still looking to hire the right people. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think we should host a job fair and we should let people know what positions we have available. Right now, that list, is this what this is? All openings? No? Okay, never mind. But let people know, what our needs are, especially bus drivers and things of that nature. Because if you don't tell them what you need, they're not going to know. And I remember as a teenager applying for a job, I didn't know who was hiring. I didn't know I could go to any business and apply and maybe get hired. I would just look for a business that had a help wanted sign in the window. I didn't know the difference. But then later on in life, as I became a job developer or development specialist, I found that anybody can hire you. You know, you just go in and make the phone call or turn in your application or, you know, whatever it takes. But people need to be told and to understand what the needs are in order for us to be successful in what we're doing. So that's all I have. Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Mr. Venezia?
Thank you. So at the last board meeting, board member Gates requested a report on basically the positions that the district has, a history of them, and of what has been included in the budget. So the report in front of you is a work in progress. It's a history of the positions that we have, with the position title on the left. Active and filled, meaning this position existed during the year, and it was filled in the year. So it starts in 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, so the last 5 fiscal years. And that's the actual position. So if an actual employee was in the position, it'll be on the left side in the peach colored section. On the right side is the FTE of that position, so the full-time equivalent. Full-time equivalent is separate from the person. It's so for a certificated employee, full-time equivalent is generally 6.5 hours. For a classified employee is generally 8 hours a day of a position. So that's the difference between the two sides. And there's notes on the right side for each of those positions if there's a note for that position. So for instance, the admin assistant for the school has an explanation of 10 positions and it kind of breaks down FTE per position. You notice the FTE is less than 1. That's because a school admin doesn't work 12 months out of the year. They work 11 months out of the year. So that's kind of the explanation for the FTE. We'll provide this report in a digital format as well on the weekly memo. The other part of this was putting a dollar amount to this. That's kind of our next step. So that will take some time. We did this in collaboration with HR and the business department. So it's a lot of data that we had to pull, and we hope to build on it to kind of provide more information. So hopefully by next board meeting, if not next board meeting, definitely by the time we have first interim, we can put a dollar figure for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Kiffin?
I just want to welcome our new employees. We have 13 tonight, so welcome everyone. I also want to thank America Ellis. I know she wasn't able to come today, but thank you for volunteering. We appreciate all of our volunteers. And I also want to thank the students from Lincoln Acres. Next week, we have a visit to Lincoln Acres, and I can't wait to meet everybody and see the students and learn more about the programs. And then also happy birthday to Maria Betancourt Castañeda.
Thank you. Dr. Brown?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Lincoln Acres staff and students. I'm very excited for them with their connections to the scientists. And welcome our new employees. I want to wish both Mr. Dalla and President Betancourt Castañeda a wonderful, amazing day tomorrow on your birthday. I want to wish the kids a happy Halloween and safe and happy Halloween, as well as for those of us out there who do celebrate it, a happy Diwali. And I'd like to thank the Ira Harbison staff. We had the pleasure of visiting them on Tuesday. It was a great visit. I learned how to chicken dance, and
You didn't know how to chicken dance?
not really. No, my skills are really good now, though. And of course, the great teachers taught me, and but it was just a wonderful day, and it was just a site filled with hope, and so it was a great visit. Thank you.
Is there a video of the chicken dance, please?
I may have taken one,
Yeah.
or at least some photos.
Dr. Brown, Dr. Brady.
Yeah, so I just want to say those kids were amazing tonight, and so were their teachers as well. You might recall those are two of the teachers that were Notre Dame fellows for Lincoln Acres when they became a STEM school. They went and got extensively trained over the course of 3 years. The board approved them to travel there and be part of that program. And the pre-scientist program is something that they were able to bring back through that connection. And again, the board, thank you for approving the MOU that allowed the children to be able to participate. We don't just let anybody write letters to students, right? We really want to make sure they're vetted. And so there's some processes built into that. And we appreciate that you approved that MOU that allowed that to happen. So this is a great example of two really big approvals from the school board to actually see it implemented in action. So I just wanted to make that connection as well, and thank you for that. And to just compliment the teachers for continuing to keep that Notre Dame training going at Lincoln Acres. It's been wonderful. It is always wonderful when our students have an opportunity to learn about their future careers and their jobs. As Dr. Kraft mentioned, we really want to start looking at how do we bring more of that teaching and learning into our school district. I told you that our students from the Student Roundtable went up to Amazon, and you will hear at the next board meeting an extra presentation from the winning group. They can't wait to share their experience. But I shared with my Student Roundtable on Friday that the group was so impressed with our students that they have contacted us to be part of another opportunity. And that opportunity will be on November 3rd. It's virtual. It's going to be a tech panel, and basically students will be able to log in, 5th and 6th grade students across the whole district, not just our Student Roundtable students, and they will be able to hear from people from the tech industry, panelists, that will share their experience going through school, their passions, what drove them to their careers, and then hear about what they do on a daily basis, and then be able to interact and ask questions and answers. So we're really excited that our students from Roundtable were so impressive that they brought this additional opportunity. And they said that we should open it to all 5th and 6th graders. So that's what we're going to do. And you probably saw the agenda in your memo as well. So that's what you're looking at when you see that. I wanted to say that we are continuing with all of our roundtables, our classified roundtables, certificated roundtable, student roundtable, but also this month we had our second parent roundtable, and Jonathan Murillo signed up as a sub-translator. Since we didn't have a translator, we posted that, I think, on Monday, and he signed up. Jonathan works at Rancho as our office tech currently, signed up and was able to translate for me for that parent roundtable. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you to our parents that attended. We were able to talk about school safety. As you know, there was another school shooting this week, so we were able to share information about our safety efforts with our parents. We had some parents bring up concerns about library books and titles and what was in our library, and we were able to share with them a change that we made where we posted a list of every single library book by school on our website. So if you look for the little red icon of a book, you can look up every title of every book that's in our library. We also showed them where to find our board policy on controversial topics and things that they may want to bring to the attention of their teacher, of their principal, and steps that they would follow according to our board policy. So thank you to Mrs. Gomez, who stayed late to help our parents navigate our website, show how to translate our website, and to find our board policies so that they could navigate those questions as well. And then we also took them through how to report bullying. That was also a question that had been brought up before. We talked about the difference between mean behavior, inappropriate behavior, and bullying, and the legal definition of bullying. And again, our board policies on bullying and what to do if you think your child's being bullied at school and how to report it. So I would encourage other employees who want extra hours. Thank you to our employees that do take on intervention, but any other employees that want extra hours to look on our website. There are several sub positions posted, so you can pick up extra hours in a job that you might want to explore, as well as the job that maybe you just have. And then we talked, I think I heard one of the comments of one of our, it was Trustee Sarmiento talked about businesses not knowing how to get involved with our school district. And on Monday, on the 1st, I think it's Monday, might be Tuesday. Is Tuesday the 1st? Tuesday's the 1st. On Tuesday, I will be attending the Classroom for the Future Foundation Superintendent Reception. If any board members would like to attend with me, I would welcome you, and I will get you tickets free of charge. And I will be pitching to businesses to join what I am calling a World Action Committee. Oh, I might have that wrong. I had it all up on my screen. Anyway, the gist will be that they can come and they can, World Action Team, where they can partner with our students, our student roundtables. And the students have a lot of ideas of what they would like to see in our schools and how we can make National City and our school district a better place. And so any businesses that would like to join forces with our students will be forming a World Action Team to start working globally, thinking globally, acting locally, and incorporating our business partners to help them impact the world around us. So I will let Mr. Natividad also know that the students will be forming that team if he would like to be on that as well, and anybody else in our community around National City. And with that, happy birthday to our board president, happy birthday to Mr. Dalla, and I wish you a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Okay, just wanted to welcome our new employees and thank you for being here tonight and sticking through with us. Wanted to congratulate Lincoln Acres on their presentations. The students, they came in nervous, but they were very confident as what I observed and to their teachers for their support. It's always neat to be able to have a pen pal that you reach out outside of our school environment, and it's wonderful that the students are when you say pre-science scientists, it's that they are really looking into their future, and hopefully we will have them come back as scientists. So wanted to congratulate our volunteer of the month, although she wasn't able to be here, Miss America Alice, but we'll be formally recognizing her in a future board meeting. I too had the opportunity of attending the Ocean Connectors. It's always a wonderful event, and it's great to see the familiar faces. We see them in action, and when they're working on the and the different field trips and so on. But everybody teams up very well. But also it reminds me of where they would go visit and do pen pals and so on somewhere in Mexico. Nayarit. Yeah, okay, so we have a couple of principals that are wanting to volunteer to
board members.
to volunteer, yes, and I think if we can go out and get some more education when we go to Nayarit. There's board members that are also willing to go. I know that Maria and I had spoken about this years ago, but maybe it's something that we need to
Maybe a
revisit.
speech and language pathologist.
Yes.
I intended to do it for total deliberation in Mazatlan, but it didn't happen, so hopefully you can make it through.
So
I'm excited.
I'm gonna look into this so that we can get more connections and more relationships with our Ocean Connectors from Nayarit. Just throwing it out there.
The World Action.
Right. And also thank you, Dr. Kraft, for your presentation. I know you had to have a real quick turnaround, but thank you again for your hard work in that. It's very much appreciated. And Mr. Evanesians for your very detailed report. I know that you work in conjunction with HR, so thank you for both of your teams to provide us the information, and look forward to the additional information that will be provided, the dollar amounts. And wanted to also say, salute to the Navy. I had the opportunity to attend, and it's always wonderful to be around. Although we didn't have any sailors at our table, I don't know why. I don't know what, but that's okay. But just to thank them for their service. But one of the amazing things is one of our former students, and her name just slipped my mind, and you probably remember, singing Ava. Oh, she's never lasted. Yeah, yeah, she's been doing it for I think 5 years or so. Yeah, just gave me chills to hear her, how beautiful. You would not, you would think that it was recorded. It was just so beautiful. I know one year when she sang, the music wasn't working, and she just sings like nothing. So, yeah. So, and she's one of our students. So, you know, it's very, very rewarding to see her come back and continue servicing our community. But so that was the Navy, and just wanted to wish Mr. Dalla, but also Mr. Felker. So Miss Eleanor's husband, so I share my birthday with both of them. So I just was told that this, I think it was a couple days ago. I was like, oh, there's a bunch of us that we share a birthday with, that I share a birthday with. So tomorrow, I wish them a happy birthday. And maybe Miss Felker is watching, so she can share that. And with that, I just want to wish everybody a happy Halloween and safe Halloween. I know it's a scary time for our children to be walking around, but hopefully our drivers will be much more cautious so that our children can enjoy the evening and collect a lot of candy that us parents can sift through and eat up.
Yes.
With that, wish everybody a good night and see you next week.